Hello and welcome. I'm Chakshu Roy and you're watching Laws in the Making on Rajya Sabha TV. Today on the show, we are discussing the draft National Statistical Commission Bill 2019. To discuss the draft bill, I have on the show with me Anuja Bapat, Deputy Director General, National Statistical Commission, and Mudit Kapoor, Associate Professor, Indian Statistical Institute. The Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation introduced and put the draft NSC bill in the public domain in December 2019. The draft bill provides a legislative framework for the already established National Statistical Commission, which was set up in 2005 through a government order following the recommendations of the Rangarajan Commission. The bill also revises the compensation of the Commission and creates an audit division within the NSC.
The bill provides a legislative framework for the NSC to advise central and state governments, courts and tribunals on matters relating to government statistics. These include setting of standards for statistical concepts and methodologies, legislative measures, identification and development of national policies and priorities. The Commission can also offer advice on promoting public awareness and devising measures for improving public trust in official statistics.
National Statistical Commission bill is a welcome step from Government of India for two reasons. One, it gives legal legitimacy to the National Statistical Commission, and two, it gives definite power and privileges to the Commission to set the data and its scientific collection. As we all know that we are not entitled for our fact, we are entitled for our opinion. When government is trying to make data-driven governance system so that we can realize the dream of our Honorable Prime Minister, minimum government and maximum governance, that can only happen in case we have a scientific data, reliable data, verifiable data, and collected using international statistical standard. Now all these objectives plus something more will be met once this bill and this commission is established.
The Commission currently has a part-time chairperson, 4 part-time members and an ex-officio member. The Chief Statistician of India is the Secretary of the Commission. The revised NSC will consist of 9 members, including the chairperson, 5 full-time members who will be appointed by the centre. The other members of the Commission will include the Deputy Governor of the RBI, the Chief Economic Advisor, Ministry of Finance and the Chief Statistician of India.
One very special feature of the new bill is the provision of a national statistical audit system. Presently, what is being attempted is to give greater credibility. There have been some controversies about the credibility of official statistics. So, provision of an audit by an independent and statutory National Statistics Commission will give greater credence to official statistics, and it will explain the methodologies, surveys, samples, selection, everything to stakeholders.
The National Statistical Commission will define the standard procedures to be followed for core statistics, which are statistical indicators critical for monitoring the economy. It will identify the agencies that will be responsible for the collection, compilation and publication of such core statistics and determine their release calendar. The Commission will also review the concepts, definitions, standards, methodology, including the agencies responsible for the collection, compilation and publication of such core statistics and update as needed at least once in 5 years.
Collection of statistics in India has a historical background. Madam, I want to come to you first and ask you as to how did collection of statistics happen in India? What is the background? How did the ministry start doing that work?
Collection of statistics, official statistics has a very strong foundation in the independent India. The Indian National Statistical System has been historically ever since India became independent, and it had its own official statistical system set up by Professor P.C. Mahalanobis, as we call him, the father of statistics, official statistics, has a very strong foundation in terms of methodology, in terms of research, in terms of institutional capabilities and the deliverables that it has produced over the decades. So we did not lack, and we have been regarded, and the international statistical system has taken a lot, borrowed a lot from the way Indian statistical system has progressed. But as you see, things change in the economy. Statistical system primarily works to monitor to the progress, the changes in the economic and social milieu of any country, any nation state. So in that aspect, things got started changing, say a few decades ago, and we realized that the system was little going behind the schedule and its the requirements that the system was making on this system. So probably that's how the change started happening. But we do come with a very strong foundation in Indian statistical system.
Okay, Mudit, a very strong foundation, but as an academic and an economist who deals with numbers, what is the role that statistics plays in decision making in a country as big as ours?
In my opinion, statistics, the vital statistics which this commission is has been entrusted with in terms of ensuring the collection and the reporting of it, I think it plays an important role in terms of decision making, for example, allocation of resources. If we want to allocate resources to poor people, how many poor people exist? I mean, it's an important statistics to have. Otherwise, we could be allocating resources into areas, into regions which don't need that particular resource. We need vital statistics to be able to inform us. But it also plays another role, which is to inform the public about the performance of the government at a particular point in time or during a particular point in time, in terms of what the deliverables have been and what it needs to deliver. So in a democracy like ours, people can make informed decisions based on some of these vital statistics that are reported. So it becomes extremely important for the government to make the right decisions on the behalf of the people, and for the people also to make the right decisions in terms of choosing the government or requesting the government to alter or bring about a policy change. So I think it plays both ways.
And the decision making is not only limited to government and citizens. If the industry has to make decisions on, what is the health indicators of the country, or if you need more doctors or lesser doctors, statistics are important. And, which brings me to the question as to, in a country as big as ours, Madam, how are statistics collected, at the state level and at the central level?
Yeah. So Indian statistical system, or official statistical system, if you call it, is not a linear institutional setup. What constitute official statistical system is both the data that is collected through statistical inquiries, as well as the data is collected through the administrative records or the government policy when government implements a certain program or a policy. Now again, statistics is a subject of concurrent list of the constitution. So both central and state governments have their own spheres defined where they collect the information either through statistical inquiry or through administrative setup. And this data, as it lies in the system, is mostly in silos, mostly not available to the other agencies as of now. That is when I was talking about the changes that were, or the limitations that we were identifying, that this data is not available to everyone, even within government. It is lying in silos. It is decided, the standardizations, the methodologies, the definitions, they all are they are in a very fragmented, the state of affairs is very fragmented, data is available. So though we have a large chunk of data available within the country in the official statistical system, sometimes it is not known to even the policy makers, let alone the common citizen. So when we talk about the commission, I understand, as you said in the beginning, that Rangarajan Commission made this recommendation way back in 2001, but it has become all the more timely when today we are talking about this informed government decision making process, and when the data is centered to the informed policy making, that we have a credible official statistical system, and that credibility will come from the standardization and release of a timely and reliable and relevant data. And how do you make sure that what you bring out, adheres to all these qualities, and probably for that a technically superior and apex body is very timely and very relevant.
Is required.
Yeah.
And Mudit, that brings us to an important point about, whenever we talked about statistics, one of the things that Ms. Bapat talked about is credibility of data. And how important, is credibility of data when it comes to decision-making processes?
So historically, if we look at some of the data collecting agencies and agencies that publish statistics and data, the crucial aspect of it is fearless publication of facts, irrespective of what influence it may have on a particular political view or partisan position. So it has to be, and I think Indian statistical system has lived up to that. I think one thing what makes in fact India an example across the world is that we have been able to publish facts. Whether those facts are acceptable or politically not acceptable it's not the concern of the agency producing those facts, and we have to strengthen this even further. I think that is the credibility question which has been raised. Second, which I think is extremely important, is that very often we conduct surveys to produce a statistical number, right? We are not interviewing the entire population or covering the entire population. And one of the things I would like the Commission to work a little bit more rigorously is that when these numbers are reported, because these figures are extremely important from a decision-making point of view, but I think what is needed to report also are what are the errors associated with these figures. Now in statistical terms we call them uncertainty intervals or confidence intervals, and those errors have to be discussed. So there are, for example, non-sampling errors that over a period of time the coverage ratio of people participating in the survey could be changing. That might also bring about a change where the true estimates are very different from the estimates that are being reported. That needs to be discussed much more rigorously than the figure itself. You come out with an unemployment figure and let us say from it was 6.4% in 1 year, next year it goes up to 7%. Given that we are a large population, even 0.6% difference could be large. But from a statistical perspective, they might not be actually very different, right?
Yeah.
And there is less discussion on the accompanying documentation which has generated those facts and figures than the figures themselves. Figures get, because politically they are contested, they are debated. So I feel there are two things which we need to do right through the Commission. One is fearless publication of the facts, and second is the accompanying documents have to be rigorously and transparently put out.
And that is something that we'll discuss more, but right now it's time for us to head into a break. When we come back, we will discuss the powers of the central government to issue directions to the NSC and the functions of the Audit Division. Welcome back. On the program today, we are discussing the draft National Statistical Commission Bill 2019. The bill provides a legislative framework for the NSC to advise central and state governments on matters related to government statistics.
Under the draft bill, the central government may issue directions to the Commission as it sees fit in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency or morality. The Commission will be given an opportunity to express its views before any direction is given, but the decision of the central government will be final.
The first thing will be that there will be an independent secretariat. Secondly, there will be a commission which will have members from Reserve Bank and other fields. And thirdly, there will be periodical review also. And by all these manners, once a legal backing is there, role and responsibilities are assigned to the new commission, then it will be easy to get the information from the different ministries, and there will be, besides this, there is a parallel some legislative work in the front of data protection law. So I feel that both are need to be synchronized, so that besides data sharing, there is a adequate data protection also of the public data which is with the government.
The draft bill will also establish the National Statistical Audit and Assessment Organization within the NSC. This division will conduct periodic statistical audits of any statistical survey conducted by a government agency. It will be headed by the Chief Statistical Auditor appointed by the central government.
Actually, it is the other way around. The NSC is supposed to be advising the central government in the manner of collection of statistics, in setting standards. So, Commission itself requiring oversight from central government would be contrary to the intent of the bill. It is to set standards, to see what kind of if samples have to be drawn, how the samples will be drawn, if surveys have to be conducted, how those surveys will be conducted, what design of survey questionnaire, design of fields for the various forms for collection of information. Those will be the functions, technical functions, oversight on that. So, it is oversight on the official statistics system by NSC rather than central government oversight on NSC.
The NSC has the power to warn, caution or censure a government agency if it does not comply with the standards of statistical ethics, or any person engaged in government statistics commits professional misconduct, makes a false or misleading statement or material omission with respect to any information furnished to the NSC.
Ms. Bapat, one of the important things that always comes up for discussion is whenever a body is changing from an ordinary body to a body which has legislative backing, then the question arises, what is the reason for having that legislative backing? What is the reason for having a law established for creating that body?
So, as I explained in my previous discussion, the Commission is supposed to be an apex body for the entire official statistical system. And as I said, the entire official statistical system does not constitute only the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, which is the nodal agency in the central government. But within central government itself, the statistics is collected by various other line ministries also, either through statistical inquiry or through their administrative records. And same is the case with the state government. So, you have this entire gamut of activities going on, which together constitute official statistical system. Now, so when Rangarajan Commission recommended to have an apex body, it expected that Commission's mandate will actually cover this entire gamut of activities. And when we are saying a commission will not actually be the executive authority over these, but it is an advisory body which will be able to, as now the bill proposes, standardize the processes, the products. It will be able to standardize, it will be able to create a synergy in the institutional mechanism that constitutes.
And since data is multifold, collected by multiple agencies at the center and state level, you possibly need an institution that will coordinate some of these activities, set standards.
And without a statutory power, we realized over these years, although the Interim Statistical Commission has been set up in 2005 through a government order, and it is functioning and it has been trying to exercise the mandate, but the lack of statutory authority actually limits its effectiveness. A lot of recommendations that have been made by the Commission, although have been received by the states or even by the central government, but they have not been implemented to the core or to the satisfaction to bring the desired results that it expected. So, probably that is why the need for a statutory body was very severely
And
felt.
possibly when the suggestions are made by a statutory body, they have that much more weight than a body which is not constituted through a statute.
And although even the executive order made that Commission will be answerable, you will be presenting its report to the Parliament, and where it is, but a statutory framework will lend it more power and weightage to its recommendation.
Okay, but before we went into the break, one of the things that you were talking about was conversations around statistics. And when I was looking at the bill, one of the mandate of the Commission is also to build conversation and have that citizen outreach kind of a function when it comes to statistics. What is the role there that the Commission can play?
I think the Commission can play an important role in terms of communicating the interpretation also of these figures. And I'll give you an example. Take the sample registration system, which is collects data on infant mortality rate across the states in the country. But if you look at the bulletin, in addition to just reporting the infant mortality rate, it also tells you the intervals in which we can interpret this. Right? Why is this important? Now, suppose I want to monitor the changes across the states over a period of time. Has health outcomes in Uttar Pradesh improved or worsened vis-a-vis other states? Then to be able to say this in a confident manner, I need this interval to say, you know what, now I can compare Uttar Pradesh with Bihar or with Madhya Pradesh and see how different states are performing. So now the commission over here ensures that the quality of data that is being reported is robust so that we can have a meaningful discussion on how to interpret the data and the figures, because a large part of, in my opinion, confusion these days is how do we interpret these figures. And very often these becomes a part of political debate and we forget about the whole statistical nuances that go into reporting these numbers. And I think that transparency, the commission will bring in the rigor that is required. And if you permit me 2 more minutes, take for example the National Sample Survey. Now, if I were to use the National Sample Survey estimates for consumption in India, they underreport consumption vis-a-vis reported by the National Account Statistics, right? Now, why is that the case? In fact, that number which used to be 95% at some point in time, if you compare the NSS aggregate consumption with NAS, has come down to almost 33%. Right? So, over a period of time, it seems maybe the coverage has changed. So, we need to now dig deeper into the question so as to why this has happened. And now what new methodology or how do we need to improve the statistical methods? Because we are using the NSS to compute the poverty rates. And if we are using it to compute the poverty rates, are we underestimating or overestimating poverty? Could be a big question. So I think the commission will resolve some of these issues in a meaningful manner.
Okay, Ms. Bapat, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, taking away from what Mudit is saying is, so yes, the numbers that are reported, there should be some kind of a mechanism to check. So there is an audit, division that is being constituted. But a larger question that our viewers would want to understand is, there's an existing commission right now, and now there's going to be a statutory commission under law. So what are some of the things that are being carried forward, and what are some of the new things that are being added, to the commission?
Then the statutory body that is coming up is actually the core recommendation of Rangarajan Commission. So the interim commission that was established did have the same idea. I mean, it was established with the same mandate. So probably the mandate is strengthened and carried forward. And the idea of core statistics, defining core statistics, was actually created in the Rangarajan Commission report and was given to this commission as well. The commission did attempt to define the core statistics. Probably the statutory commission will have more teeth to.
And can you shed a little bit of light on what these core statistics are?
So the core statistics is, as the definition says, are those statistics or those indicators which are critical to or fundamental to monitor the socio-economic health of the policy of the governance or the country. So say for example GDP, say for example unemployment ratio, say for example the birth rate, example maternity mortality. So these are just indicative. So there is already a list available which the interim commission had drafted and which has been appended to the schedule of the draft bill. So the idea is that the statutory commission will actually not only go into this list and validate this list, it will also have the authority to actually recommend new core statistics which may be emerging, to delete some of the indicators which are listed there but which have become dated. It will have the authority to recommend these changes to the core statistics list to the governments, respective governments. It may so happen that a state government, particular state government feels that there is some particular indicator which is specifically important to them, they can come to the commission and commission will evolve the criteria which will allow an indicator to be qualified as core statistics, and then it becomes mandatory for the institution to. So it becomes a more standardized process. So that will be what commission will be doing. As I said, Commission will streamline the institutional setup in terms of standardizing. So, as Mudit was talking about, that if you have two indicators, and the two indicators may be using a single term, say household, but the definition of households is different in two. The layman is not able to understand what is comparable and what is not. So, probably a commission can come back and say that these are the standardized definitions which across the board have to be used, and then then the comparability goes. Then it can also see what if there are duplications happening. The two agencies are collecting similar results with two different definitional setups. So probably it can bring those and identify those gaps, and all this finally goes into building the public trust that we were talking about. When you have an institutional mechanism which tells you that these are the definitions, these are the processes, and the results will be out with this framework. So probably you give a standardized
so people can look at the numbers, and then the government can use those numbers to make the decision making. Mudit, final comments, 10 seconds since we are running out of time. The commission is going to have an advisory capacity. What are some of the things that the commission should think about when it is looking at statistics?
Firstly, I think this bill is a very, very welcome change. I mean, the recognition that statistics is extremely important, and now that it will be a statutory body. And the only advisory role is, I think, to break away from the statistical system, we need a much more rigorous reporting of how the data is collected and what are the likely errors in reporting the data. I think this is where the commission will need to play a very, very instrumental role. I think before interpreting the facts and the figures as they are reported.
Perfect. Thank you, Mudit. Thank you, Ms. Bapat, for joining us on this discussion. It is time for us to end the show. You can watch our shows on the RSTV page of YouTube. We will be back with a new issue and a new episode. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV.